Before we start with questions, I just want to address, what's going on with AT. I think first and foremost, it's to protect our players. We've got to continue to support our players in our league. We get to play a basketball game. And AT was exactly right. Like, we get to play a basketball game. And yes, that's going to come with criticism. Yes, that's going to come with fans and the love-hate relationship that they have with players and teams. That is going to come.
Sophie Cunningham has spent the better part of the past year becoming one of the most recognizable names in the WNBA.
But it's not hard to not be a jerk. And if you are one of these people that are online doing this, do not call yourself a WNBA fan. Our league is about inclusiveness. Our league is about inclusiveness. Do not call yourself a WNBA fan. Our league is about inclusiveness. Our league is about competition.
Our league is about competition.
Our league is about elevating.
Our league is about elevating.
Elevating women.
Elevating women.
Elevating marginalized communities.
Not always for what happens during the 40 minutes of game action. She built her early reputation as the physical presence alongside Caitlin Clark on the Indiana Fever roster.
Apparently, the Indiana Fever had a staff member that wasn't wanted anymore. That was fired for sexual harassment. Brianna Turner made us all aware of that earlier this morning, late last night. Indiana Fever put out a statement about that. Quote, protecting our players and employees and maintaining a respectful, professional workplace is our top priority. Our policy is to take concerns seriously, investigate thoroughly, and act promptly when appropriate to protect the people in our organization and ensure everyone is treated with professionalism and respect. Fostering trust and safety in that process means we do not comment on personnel matters involving former employees.
The player willing to step into confrontations when things got heated on the floor. That reputation has since expanded well beyond basketball, and this week it pulled her into one of the more contentious storylines the league has dealt with all season. An ESPN profile published on Tuesday, July 21, addressed Cunningham's stance on transgender athletes in women's sports.
To protect young girls who shouldn't have to go against biological men. Just can you expand your viewpoint on that?
I mean, I think I said what I said. I think it's kind of common sense. And I think I'll always believe in that. I think it's really important to protect children. And that's little girls who are also involved in that category. And so I stand on what I said, and I always believe that.
Yeah. Do you see your advocacy on that, like, taking any form going forward?
I don't know. I'm not a very political person, but I do have beliefs. I have morals, and I'll always stand on those and be true to who I am. And I think people are going to take it how they want to take it, but I've never even really said anything about that. And so when it comes just to protecting young girls in sport and women in sport, I feel very strongly about that. I think that's why you have Title IX. That's why you have some of the greats in women's sports. If Title IX and women's sports weren't protected, then you wouldn't hear about any type of women in sport. And so
in the piece, Cunningham was asked about the Mega Barbie nickname that has followed her on social media, a label she has described as a projection tied to her appearance and background rather than an accurate read on her politics. She told the outlet she is very much in the middle politically, saying she agrees and disagrees with positions on both sides and that people tend to assume otherwise. On the specific question of transgender athletes, Cunningham said she wants to protect women's sports, adding that she receives criticism suggesting she hates transgender people, which she rejects. She framed her position as one rooted in honesty alongside compassion, saying she wants to protect young girls in locker rooms and in sport from having to compete against biological men. The comments spread quickly once the profile went live, drawing sharp reactions from fans, media figures, and other players around the league. Some praised Cunningham for speaking plainly on a subject many athletes avoid. Others accused her of using her platform to advance a political position that runs counter to the league's broader public identity, which has leaned into inclusivity as part of its brand for years. Cunningham did not back away from the comments when reporters pressed her before Wednesday night's game against the Connecticut Sun. Asked directly about the backlash, she told the media scrum that she said what she said, that she considers her position common sense, and that she does not intend to change her stance. She pushed back on the idea that her comments reflected hostility toward transgender people, saying she does not dislike anyone and believes there is room to love everyone, while also stating she is there to love and protect biological women and that certain rights need to be protected. She added that she would not falter on the position, framing much of the criticism as reflexive rather than a genuine engagement with what she had actually said. The Indiana Fever organization weighed in shortly afterward, though not in the way some observers expected. In a statement to the press, the team described its players as thoughtful adults with their own perspectives and voices, stating that those views belong to the individual players rather than the organization. The statement went on to say, "The Fever remain committed to welcoming fans from every background and treating everyone with respect," describing that commitment as central to how the organization operates. It was a careful piece of language, one designed to avoid endorsing or condemning Cunningham's remarks while still affirming the team's broader posture on inclusion. Some fans and commentators noted the tension in that framing. The team wanted to protect a player's right to speak her mind on a divisive issue, while simultaneously reassuring a fan base that includes people directly affected by that issue. It is a difficult balance for any franchise navigating a moment when players increasingly use their platforms to speak on matters well outside basketball, and when audiences expect organizations to take a side rather than issue carefully hedged statements. Despite the noise surrounding the comments, Wednesday's game itself played out without incident on the roster side. Cunningham played 21 minutes off the bench, as the Fever handled Connecticut comfortably. Indiana won the game 123-88, a 35-point blowout that pushed the Fever's record to 17-10 and put them in solo possession of first place in the Eastern Conference. There was no indication in her role, her minutes, or the game plan that the organization had altered how it used her. The story remained, at least on the basketball side, contained to pregame media availability rather than anything that played out on the court. That same week, a second and considerably more serious controversy emerged involving the Fever, one with no connection to Cunningham's playing time but with direct ties to the broader conversation she had reignited. Late Wednesday night, Las Vegas Aces forward Brianna Turner, who spent the 2025 season with the Fever before signing with Las Vegas, posted a series of statements on social media addressing the transgender athlete debate. Turner's posts came in response to comments from Minnesota Lynx coach Cheryl Reeve regarding bans on transgender athletes in sports, and Turner used the moment to argue that organizations like the Fever posed a greater threat to the integrity of the game than transgender athletes do. Within that same thread, Turner made a far more serious allegation about her former team. She stated that during her time with the Fever last season, a male staff member was fired after allegations of sexual harassment, and that players on the team were encouraged to stay quiet about what had happened. In her own words, shared publicly, Turner described the situation as one where a staffer was let go for the misconduct, but the response inside the organization was to keep the matter contained rather than address it openly. She used the incident to argue that issues like sexism, misogyny, homophobia, and racism deserve real scrutiny within organizations like the Fever, positioning her former team's internal culture as a more pressing concern than the presence of transgender athletes in the league. Turner pointed to former WNBA player Lacia Clarendon, the league's one publicly out transgender player, noting that Clarendon's presence in the league had not caused the kind of disruption critics of trans inclusion often predict. The allegation put the Fever in a difficult position. A franchise already managing public reaction to one of its players' comments on a politically charged topic now faced a separate and more consequential claim involving workplace conduct and an accusation that the organization had actively discouraged players from speaking about it. The team responded with a statement addressing Turner's claims directly, without confirming or denying the specifics of what she described. The statement said that protecting players and employees and maintaining a respectful professional workplace is the organization's top priority, and that its policy is to take concerns seriously, investigate them thoroughly, and act promptly when appropriate to protect the people within the organization and ensure everyone is treated with professionalism and respect. The Fever added that fostering trust and safety in that process means the organization does not comment on personnel matters involving former employees. It was a response built around institutional caution. The team acknowledged the seriousness of the underlying subject without engaging with the substance of what Turner had alleged, and without addressing directly whether players had, in fact, been told to stay quiet. Whether a police report was ever filed in connection with the original incident remains unclear. As of Thursday, the WNBA League office had not announced any investigation into the matter, nor had it issued a public comment on Turner's allegations. Turner's decision to go public carries weight beyond the specific claim itself. She played 27 games for the Fever last season, a limited role by her own standards after years as one of the league's more respected defensive players, and she has since moved on to a new team. Speaking out about a former employer, particularly regarding an allegation involving sexual harassment and an accusation of an enforced silence, is not a step players take lightly, especially when the organization in question is one of the league's most visible franchises. Whatever the eventual outcome, her willingness to raise the issue publicly adds pressure on the Fever to clarify how the original incident was handled internally, even as the team maintains its policy of not discussing personnel matters involving former staff. The two storylines, Cunningham's comments and Turner's allegation, are separate in substance but connected in timing and in what they reveal about where the WNBA finds itself as a growing, increasingly scrutinized league. Players now operate with platforms large enough to shape national conversations well outside the sport itself, and the audiences following them are engaged enough to hold organizations accountable in real time. A single week produced a nationally discussed political statement from one player, a public reckoning over how the team responded to that statement, and a separate allegation of workplace misconduct and suppression from a former player, all playing out under the same organizational umbrella. It is worth noting, for context, that this is not the first time this season the Fever's handling of public statements around inclusivity has come under scrutiny. Earlier in the season, head coach Stephanie White addressed hateful and abusive treatment directed at Phoenix Mercury forward Alyssa Thomas following a flagrant foul call involving Caitlin Clark, condemning the harassment Thomas said she and her family received. In that press conference, White spoke about the league's identity, saying the WNBA is about inclusiveness, about elevating marginalized communities, and about being inclusive of people from all walks of life, adding that those who use the league to spread hateful narratives online should not consider themselves real fans of the sport. That statement, delivered weeks before the current controversy, and in response to a different incident entirely, reflects the kind of language the organization has used publicly when discussing its values. Whether that stated commitment lines up cleanly with how the team is now navigating both Cunningham's comments and Turner's allegation is something observers will continue to weigh, though the two moments were not part of the same sequence of events and should not be read as a direct response to one another. What is clear is that the Fever now sit at the center of two distinct but simultaneous tests of how a modern sports organization manages competing pressures. On one side is a star player's right to express a personal, politically charged opinion without the team either endorsing or punishing her for it. On the other is a far more serious question about whether the organization mishandled an internal misconduct case and whether it discouraged players from speaking about it. The first is a matter of public relations and cultural politics. The second, if Turner's account holds up to scrutiny, touches on workplace safety and institutional accountability in ways that carry legal and reputational consequences well beyond a single news cycle. For a franchise that has spent the past 2 years riding a wave of unprecedented attention, largely driven by Caitlin Clark's arrival and the corresponding explosion in ticket sales, television ratings, and media coverage, this week is a reminder that visibility cuts both ways. The same platform that turned Cunningham into a recognizable name well beyond basketball circles is the same platform amplifying scrutiny of the organization's internal practices. Every statement the team issues is read closely, every silence is interpreted, and every explanation is measured against past public commitments the organization has made about its values. Neither storyline appears close to resolution. Cunningham has shown no indication she intends to walk back her comments, and the Fever have shown no indication they intend to discipline her for making them. Turner's allegation remains publicly unaddressed in terms of specifics, with the league yet to signal whether it will formally look into what she described. Both threads will likely continue developing in the coming days, shaped by further reporting, by how other players and coaches around the league respond, and by whether the WNBA office decides the sexual harassment allegation warrants a formal review. For now, what is confirmed is this: a star player spoke publicly on one of the most divisive topics in modern sports and refused to walk it back. Her team responded with carefully neutral language rather than taking a side. And in the same week, a former teammate made a serious allegation about how the organization handled a workplace misconduct case, an allegation the team has acknowledged only in the broadest terms while declining to address the specifics.